G'day YouTube, my name's Lance. Welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report. Look, it's mostly sunny. A few clouds come over and make the shed creak and bang. Supposed to get the 28 today, but look, I don't know, it might be. It just doesn't quite feel like that to me. And the nights are down to 18, 19, so a lot of the year we have a 10-degree difference between our coolest and our hottest. We usually get, we've just been getting a light scud through almost every day, and some of them will just come through and it'll just piss down rain for like 2 or 3 minutes and go away, and the rest of the day is nice. So I don't know how that works, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The place is nice and green. Most of the mowing got done last week. I've still got a little bit out behind on the side of the shed to do. The paddock is a bit too wet. I bogged the rider mower a week ago on the front lawn. Just driving along and bloop, down she went. It's that damp. A lot of moisture around. I've got a couple of sandflies in the door of the shed at the moment as well. So not something we normally have, but we've got them now, just at the moment. So I've got a little fan where I kick back in my chair and pat the dog and look out the door. We have a little fan, little breeze blowing, and that seems to keep them away. Through the week I've been buggering around with the pumps and things like that. Last stew I didn't have time to tell you that the week before we had something like 2.5, 3 inches in an hour or so, particularly over East Bundaberg, and my young bloke Tim, he was heading into band practice. He's in a band called Reckless Error, and they were going to band practice, and it was just pissing down rain about 7 o'clock of a night and dark, and unbeknownst to him, it had rained that bloody much that he went round to one of the back roads, and there's a little gully there. Well, it had probably 600-800 of water in it, and he reckons of a night time, you come around the corner and you just see the glisten of the rain on the road. He couldn't see, the water, the glare looked the same across the water, and he come around the corner and went bang straight into this water. Well, it went out of control a bit, like he spun out a little bit, and he wrecked the rear rim and got stuck in the water. But I think it might have put the wind up him a bit. But anyway, someone come along and towed him out, and we got a phone call. "Oh, Dad, that trailer of yours, you fit a car on that all right?" And I said, "Yeah." So next morning, here's Jude and myself over East Bundaberg, got the tilt tray going on the trailer, and we winched the car up, and we thought, well, we'll try and get it going, but it stopped the motor, so it hydraulicked with the water pushing up under, and I lifted the bonnet and had a look out there, and you can see the high tide mark halfway up the block, and you can see all the debris from the road, from the flood and that, up in the air conditioning pulleys and everything, and the battery was flat, and so we got it winched up onto the car, onto the trailer, and got it home here, and I thought, oh well, I'll see if I can get it going. So the battery in the Commodore wagons, I think it's a VZ, I don't know my models very well, but I charged the battery at the back, but I couldn't get the back tailgate to unlock, and so there's something wrong between the two computers, and with the battery charged right at the back, it still wouldn't unlock the front or do the tailgate. Yet if I hook a jumper lead onto the front where you're supposed to hook your jumpers to get it started, well then you can open the back. So the two computers aren't talking to each other. And it doesn't matter what you do, you can't get that engine to wind over. So it's pretty well buggered. Not a thing they probably needed, because things are tight with everyone, young families and all that. But anyway, I think they're looking around for a car, but they only had one little loan, $400 to pay somewhere, so they should be okay financially. They both earn reasonable money, but they were looking at a new one. But I don't know, probably not my suggestion to do that. But anyway, they got to live their own life. So any chance I can have a couple of grand for a deposit, Dad, and I'll pay you back? And I thought, might just have it, eh? So we gave them a couple of grand to help with deposits and get that, but then they were looking at a brand new Kluger, which, not my choice, but they're doing it, and they got knocked back on the finance for that. So it's just too much for a young couple, I think. So anyway, they're bugging around with that. I've got the car on the trailer. I might show you that in the walk around shortly. Yeah, just one of those things that you don't really need, but it sort of comes along. The other week I showed you some cast iron wheels in the doorway, and I've got a bucket here, and I bought a vapor rust, CRC a vapor rust, and I put a couple of them in a little 10-litre bucket because that's all I needed. And I just pulled one out before, and that's how clean it gets it. And like that moisture you can see on, that's water. I've just had it over in the sink trying to clean that off. So yeah, it does a terrific job. Probably before it flash rusts I should blow that dry with air, and I'll probably paint them black, and so I should blow that dry with air and put a bit of rust converter on, CRC rust converter, because that gets right deep in. I've done one, and you blow it with the air and you can just see the moisture draw up out of the cast, and then once I know it's right like that, I sit it out the front in the sun for a minute, then then I spray it with the rust converter, because I really rate that rust converter. It's good stuff, and this stuff seems to work well. Not that they were very rusty, it was just surface rust from where Indy that I got them off, had them sitting outside in the weather, but I mean, it's done very well. The other thing, I've been working on that little Dunlop, the little Ajax pump, and it's got a 2.5 inch bore. It's 2.5 by 2.5, and I think 2.5 by 2.5. Anyway, the bore's 2.5 inch, and it had a brass sleeve in it. The sleeve doesn't look too bad, and that last lot of Fergie tools I got from down south from old Bill Hare's tools, it had a flexi hone, a 2.5 inch flexi hone in his Massey Ferguson gear for doing the TE20 lift cylinders. And so, yes, I sat there yesterday with the flexi hone and some penetrate, CRC penetrate, and I was cleaning all that up. And look, it's come up really well. The cylinder looks good, but I just went down to McCracken's, which is our, and it's a bit late today, like it's after lunch now, but I had business to do, as in some of my stuff to do. Then I've had a heap of club stuff to do. We got the rally coming up in August, and I had to go and get prices on banners, and I've spoken to the hotel about buying alcohol for our bar. We're going to have a bar on the Saturday, and spoke to Sugarland Tavern about meals, and the people that are on the site, that are camping on the site, the exhibitors, they'll send little courtesy buses to pick people up and take them into the pub, into Sugarland Tavern for dinner. So I've sort of sorted all that out today. We're getting some more banners made, but we're just getting the prices in on that. And the ladies want some feather flags, so I'm trying to sort that. But anyway, as part of my run around town, I had a haircut. Bloody good looking rooster, yeah. And I went and got some 2.5 inch buckets from McCracken's. So proper original leather buckets, $38 for a pair. This hole here, it looks like 3/8. I need to open that to 5/8. And so, I don't know, I might just hold it in the lathe, and they're very stiff at the moment. And for those of you, the old blokes that have done this a bit, what should I do here? I'm thinking of chucking them in a bucket of water, for a couple of days. I've got plenty to do on the pump, other bits to assemble. So to soften them up, like they fit down the bore nicely. It's not firm, it hadn't expanded out. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Look, probably drop it in a bucket of water, I was thinking, and let the water soak in and soften it. And where the rod comes along, and well, that's another story. I'll tell you another story now. That was the original rod, and that dark piece, this is a brass rod, and that dark piece is around a 1/16 of an inch smaller than the rest. It's 3/4, and it's got all these score marks up it and things, so I didn't like that. So here's one I prepared earlier. So last night before dinner I was up buggering around, and I've made that nice new brass shaft now, and this end goes into the drive end, and this end is where those pistons packings go. So And what they had on this end here, where the packings go, so it's a dual acting, so one packing has to go one way and one has to go the other way, but I can't recall having one of these apart before. So what I'm thinking of doing, there's a shoulder here, so I'm going to turn up a piece that fits snugly in here, that can come up against the shoulder. So this bucket will probably sit there. Then I'm going to turn up a washer for between them both, mainly just to support the back edge there, and then turn up another piece in the middle there, and then we can bring the nut down and tighten it all against this shoulder there. And if I machine that nicely, well, I've left quite a sharp shoulder there, so where the brass washer, and I don't know whether it was a fat washer or a skinny washer, there was just nothing left. They had like shocky rubbers in there, and so it didn't move up the shaft here. They had a hose clamp and things like that. So, and this end screws into where the guide piston goes, and then the hex on there, so you can actually adjust the camera just went out and come back on again. Yeah, this here you can actually adjust the where it sits in the bore a bit, I presume. So that's a nice shaft. I'm pretty pleased with that. I have to get these rubbers sorted, these leather buckets sorted out. But yeah, let us know. It'll be a day or two before I get onto them. And then this is the end. This is the end where the shaft goes in and out, and this here had burrs where they've had bashed it and carried on. So I just tidied it. You can still see a few nicks underneath it there, so that goes in there. Then this had burrs all over it where they just belted shit out of it. You can see where they've had a square punch and belted shit out of it. So I've just tidied that up, look, just for looks really. And oh shit, when I was getting the packings, I was going to get some rope packing for that. But anyway, look, I think I've got some here from old engines, but through the week, where was it? It must have been early in the week. And I had it on the pump body on the bench there, and I've pressure cleaned it, and I've painted inside with Gliptol and cleaned the housings up and all that. And there was a bit of paint on an area, and I got my wire brush on my 4-inch cup brush on the angle grinder, and I was doing that, and well, bugging me, it hit something, come back and hit me in the neck, and you might see a little gap in my whiskers, in my beard here. Grabbed a hunk of beard out, pulled it out, smacked me in the lip. So that's pretty good now though. Yeah, smacked me here and cracked me on the nose, and yeah, brought a bit of bloody tear to the eye there for a minute. I knew Jude would be onto me, so I didn't go up the house for the rest of the day. I waited. I waited, and then yeah, when I got up the house, I got the 3rd degree. What were you doing? Were you hanging on to it, and did you have your safety glasses on and all that? Which I did, but anyway, it just shot away on me very quickly and woke me up anyway. So wasn't a bad thing. No harm done. I got a bit of a gap in me bloody mane here, but probably needs a bit of a chop off anyway. It's getting a bit out there. But anyway, we'll see. This coming weekend, which is Easter, Mount Perry has a show on, a rural agricultural show, so we're heading up there. I'm just going to take an engine, take the little United engine, and I've got to take some club fencing and banners and fire extinguishers for the club and a gate and all that sort of stuff. So by the time I chuck all that in, yeah, one engine will probably be plenty to go and play. So we'll take the camper trailer up. Oh, I tested the batteries on the camper trailer, and look, it's a bit of a funny setup. Like, old mate that we bought it off, it's got King's batteries in it, 138 amp hours, and you can charge them up. They charge right up to 100%, and I've got my battery load tester. I can put the load tester on it, and they test pretty good. Yeah, not perfect, but pretty good. Like when you hold the load tester on, the load tester gets hot, and they don't drop under 12 at all. And I thought, well, that's going pretty good. So we'll just see. But to test the fridge out, when we were away and we had fridge trouble, overnight I just run an Anderson lead from the 50 amp Anderson in the back of my ute to the fridge, and it run the fridge all night, no worries. So I did that same test at home here. So one day I hooked it to the ute and ran the fridge, and it run the fridge all day, no worries at all. You know, the battery was, it's 100 amp hour battery, and it was pulling back a little bit, but that's what you'd expect. And I thought, no worries, your fridge is working well, it cycled well and all that. But so overnight I thought, right, I'll put the fridge back onto the power into the camper, you know, which 138 amp hours, we should have what, 276 or something like that, and amp hours, so it should actually run the fridge for 2 or 3 days, no worries at all, because it draws 5 amps and it cycles. So say it's drawing 5 amps all the time, well, you know, for every 100 amp hours it should run for 20 hours, and that's not counting it cycling. So, you know, in reality I should be able to put the fridge on and get, you know, 45, 50 hours of fridge use on those 2 batteries, but they wouldn't even last the night out. So the next morning they're just dead. Like after running the fridge for say 6 hours, they're down to about 10 amps, gone, buggered. So anyway, I thought I'll bite the bullet and I'll buy some lithium batteries and put in it. So in the Land Cruiser I've got an 120 amp hour lithium battery, and it's an iTech World one from West Australia. And I remember at the time I bought it, and like I was here within days from West Australia, and I was quite amazed how quick it come. But that battery's 4.5 years old now. And anyway, I hopped on the iTech World website, and they've got a new battery now. It's a 120X, and I thought, well, I'll buy 2 of them and put in the camper, and that should really give me good fridge use, and you know, for many years to come, because the lithium batteries seem to last well. And so anyway, I hopped on the website and I put them in the basket in the shopping cart. They were $900 each, and I had a 5% code from SKT, Sarah and Keelan's Travels, and I put that on, and that saved $90, but it was still going to be $1,900 for 2 batteries delivered to Bundaberg. So, and I was chewing on that a bit. I was thinking, oh, bloody thing, but I knew the fridge was okay. Even though it gets a bit of moisture on the outside, it's not insulated well. It's an Evercool TMDS 95 or something like that. And so anyway, I put them in the basket ready to come out, and then I thought, oh, I'll just go and check again and make sure there's not something I'm missing. And when you have 2 batteries sitting there, like you have positive, negative, positive, negative, well, you hook the 2 positives up and the 2 negatives up, so they're in parallel, but then you should take the earth off one battery and the positive off the other, so it combines the battery as one big battery. And look, in theory you should be able to put everything on one battery and it should even out, but they say it doesn't. So people smarter than me say it doesn't. So I had a look at that, and there was a bit of that wasn't quite right. You know, this was off this battery and that was off that battery, and so anyway, I changed all the terminals around, and I had it pulling off, you know, negative off one battery and positive off the other, so it used the whole battery, and I tried that, no good. So anyway, all of a sudden I get this phone call, and I missed it, and it says, oh, can you ring Dave from iTech World, please? So I thought, oh, yeah, all right. So I rang Dave from iTech World, and he says, oh, Lance, I see you got a couple of our batteries in your basket, but you haven't bought them. You know, you sort of hesitated. Yeah, I thought I'd just talk to you about it. And I said, yeah, all right. I said, well, they're bloody expensive, and I'm just chewing over it because, you know, the King's batteries, the King's lithium batteries, they're bloody like $500 each. Well, anyway, they're way cheaper. And I said, yeah, I think I'll probably get them, but I just, you know, I wasn't real keen on the price. And he said, I'll do your deal. He says, you buy them now. He said, $1,500 for the pair delivered to Bundaberg. So they knocked $400 out of the price. And I said, yeah, all right, let's do that then. So I haven't got them yet. I'm waiting on them. I don't think I'll have them before I've got to be on the road this Friday morning to the Mount Perry show. But I've still got it all open up there, so probably Thursday evening I'll be buggering around trying to tidy up my mess. I've still got all my tools there, and I've run that big I run the big 6BA, I think they call it, battery wire all the way up, and I've been to Road Tech Marine. I've got a 60 amp heavy duty circuit breaker, so I can, if it chucks a circuit breaker, I can actually just hop in a trap door. I haven't got to put the whole camper up to put that in. So I rewired the whole fridge setup completely, which I might have done last week when I was talking to you. I can't remember now. And but I spent 2 days on the camper this week just making sure it was okay. And I still have a couple of little jobs to do on it. There's always just little maintenance items, and I haven't given it a bath since we come home yet because it's all sitting up and open so I can get into the batteries. So anyway, I'll have to get out of the shed here and get up there and do that one day. So if that's not done Thursday, I've got to run across and pick up the club stuff, and for the weekend then we'll have to drop the camper and put my push bike on and away we go. So yeah, so the fridge runs okay on the cruiser battery, so, and they're only 6 months old, I suppose, and I've got the start battery under the bonnet. Then I've got an auxiliary battery that charges the Anderson plug at the back of the ute. Then when you plug the camper in, the camper runs off that and the batteries in it, and away they go. So it's got a normal 20 amp Thunder charger in it, the camper, and they were saying that the lithium batteries, we can put it on that charger, but it'll only ever charge the lithium batteries up to 95%, where the lithium charger takes them right up to full. So as it so happens, before we sold Queensland Tractor Spares, I bought a C-Tech lithium battery charger for the shed here. I think it might only be a 15 amp, something like that, but look, that's plenty. When the main thing you're running off the fridge, off it is the fridge at 5 amps, and you might run a fan. We bought a fan, to blow the air around after Thargomindah, and it draws 0.7 or 0.8 of an amp or something like that. So if you're pulling 6 amps out all the time, and yeah, you hook onto your power, you're away. If we put the solar panels out the back, well, they can. I've seen them charge 15 amps coming in, and when it's on the car and the Land Cruiser's belt and charge in, well, it goes up to 40 amps. So I think the smaller charger will be fine. So I don't know whether we'll get that on this weekend. It depends when the batteries come. They said 7 to 10 days. So as soon as they turn up, well, that job will be on and everything else will be forgotten. So anyway, so that's what I've done with that. Bought 2 lithium batteries. The King's ones, I don't know, when they're on full charge, and you can leave them for an hour with no load on them and test them, and they test fine, but they're just not getting the time out of them. Yeah, so I'm not sure. It's a funny thing. Usually a battery drops a cell, and I've actually tried splitting the batteries, testing them one at a time, charging them one at a time, and testing them one at a time, and they're still the same. You can load test them after you've made sure they're charged properly, and they grab the charge, they grab the load, and they seem to go okay. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but anyway, I'm chucking them to the shit house. I don't want to end up out west somewhere, or have a couple $100 worth of food and grog in the fridge and have it all go hot and shitty on you and all that sort of thing. So we want a little bit of capacity there. So that'll give us 240 amp hours of lithium battery there. So that should be plenty. When I can run the fridge all day on a single 120, and look, I don't even know if it's 120. It might be 100 amp, 105 amp battery under the bonnet. I haven't looked. I was going to, but I didn't get around to it. And so it should last fine. So that's what's happening with the camper. The pump, I'll take you for a little walk and show you what I'm doing with the pump. We'll go handheld for a minute, and I'll just show you that. But certainly no tractor work, just bloody busy, And I've got the ute's coming up to 50,000 clicks, so I've got to do the service on that. I had a bloody haircut this morning, bloody itchy. I haven't got fleas, well, not that I know of. So I'm a bit itchy from having a haircut, so I'm scratching and bloody like an old dog, need to sit in the corner and have a scratch. But look, I'll go handheld. I'll show you what I'm doing with the pump. There's not much to look at with the pump, but it's just, I don't know, we'll just show you what we're up to, really. So, yeah, sit tight. There's the mill. I've still got brass and all over it from from machining that shaft last night, so I need to tidy up through here a little bit. The lathe, when I was turning the shaft down, I haven't cleaned that up because it was getting late, time to go up and have an old 2 years old and bloody have something to eat. But the main pump body here, this here is the piston that goes back and forth, and that brass rod goes into the end there. So, and then this works on an eccentric down here. So I've got all the housing tidied up, even though I've splattered brass on it from honing the bore. The main body here, that's the brass sleeve, and it's got a hole here and a hole over there, and I reckon they must have had a little tool they put in and jacked it out if they needed to replace the sleeve. But when you look up the end there, that bore's, I think you can see that bore's lovely. So all I really have to do here now, I was thinking of machining these out again, but when you put the caps on, I've ground the top off these caps. These are the inlets, and they sit there with these valves under them. If I take them, I've got to put a gasket there, but if I take them much more, I won't be able to tighten the bolts up too much. You can see there's not much gap there. So I think I'll just cut some nice 3-inch gaskets here and yeah, make them nice and thick. I do have some very thick material. Oh look, it must be 2 mil, I think it is. And so I could cut some nice thick gaskets there and probably glue them in with a bit of Sikaflex after I put all the valves back in on the seats. The valve seats are all there, and look, they're all pretty good. I can work with them, but yeah, they're a bit rusty on the top here. So yeah, so where the top sits on, there should be a gasket around here. And I was reading the Southern Cross pumps, Southern Cross in Toowoomba, like this is an Ajax pump, and yeah, Ajax pump. And see this here, it's 2.5 by 3. So that's 2.5 inch bore by 3 inch stroke. So yeah, Ajax and other companies made these pumps, and Southern Cross in Toowoomba, they were beauties for copying things. So that pump there is the Ajax, and I have out the front here one that my little mate Paul gave me, and they are exactly the same pump, like just exactly the same. So, and that's how those wheels were before the vapour rust. But yeah, over here I've got the young bloke's car, and yeah, I've had to have the jumper leads on the battery on the trailer just to be able to work the door locks. And yeah, whatever he's slid into, she got a flat back tyre. And yeah, look, the car, all in all, it's not too bad. If it was an old red motor or something, I'd bloody pull the donk out, tidy up the electrics a bit, crank him over, get him sorted, pop him back. But because of all this electric stuff, I have one computer not talking to the other. So I've got the battery out of it now, so that'll be okay. And with the ute here, I've now got the canopy off the back. I do have to put the spare tyre in shortly, and yeah, that's good for running around town now, but I do have to load the engines up, so this time, pardon me, so this time I've put the canopy inside here, out of the way, but I do have to get one of those spare tyres off to take away with us, and I'm probably going to get that 3 horsepower International M out and give it a run soon. It's on a cart that used to be a Bundaberg Railway porter's trolley type thing, but I like that because I can put different engines on it and work on them. So and that's part of the reason I'm making some trolleys. So put this on a proper trolley so I can put something back on that and go from there. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for dropping by, and yeah, we'll see you all next week, eh? See ya.